Hi, Jazz, or me. Welcome to this show. I don't know what to call it. I don't have a name yet. Yeah, thank you. That's all I can say, or that's all I should say, rather. But I do have questions, and one question that I wanted to ask, or wanted to check about, wanted to discuss about was how we respond to situations. Right? With anything and everything that's happening, be it emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually, our response. Yeah. How a lot of people have said that, your response matters a lot. Then how do we choose how to respond? Yeah, of course. Fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right. So before telling you more about what that entails, let me tell you something about cows and bulls. All right. And I think what I'll do is that in the end, I'll give you a real life example or an actual thing that exists, which will be symbolic for you to remember what I've just said. So, when a storm approaches, cows and bulls react differently. All right. Imagine you're a cow and you're looking at a storm. What will be your first reaction? I mean, not when you're a cow, but as you, what will be your first reaction? To run away, right? So now here's the picture. Here's a storm coming and you're running away from it. And the storm's still coming. It's still going to approach you and it's still going to go across you. You can't be faster than the storm. I mean, think about it. If at all you're lucky. And what a bull would do is the complete opposite. What a bull does is it stands its ground and it faces the storm head on. Wow. Really? Now, what that does is that a bull gathers all its strength and firmly puts its feet on the ground and lets the storm come. All right. Now, what's happening is instead of running and tiring itself out, it is locking onto its position while the storm is coming and approaching, and the storm eventually will cross and go away. And that's how a bull perseveres. All right. Whereas a cow, which was actually running away from the storm, is still running away. And now picture the cow. While the storm is still approaching and it's running away and it's getting tired and it's getting stressed and it's anxious and it's under pressure, eventually it'll tire out itself physically and mentally and drain itself. And then the storm will pass by and then it won't have any strength. So the loss would look much bigger. Of course, you run it, you fight it, the choice is yours. Now, whether you're fighting or you're taking the flight mode, it purely depends on the situation. I'm nobody to prescribe one specific method or one specific approach of reaction to situations. That is something that you have to see. You would be a better judge. But what happens is that when a storm is coming through, you know that a storm is coming through, right? So instead of running away and that too in panic mode, if you hold your ground and plan your way to let the storm go through faster, the best way to do is to go in the opposite direction of the storm, which in this case would be going towards it rather than running away from it. Now, what this does is it gives you a sense of willpower, firstly. It gives you a lot of strength. And one way or the other, the storm has to go across. So you will also learn how to face a storm head on for future instances. That's how you learn. And there's a reason for why people would study hurricanes, tornadoes, storms. Because the more you know your enemy or the more you know the force, you will be able to counter it. Right? So this is one method of going through it. Now, whether you run away from a situation or you face it, it depends on the situation itself. All right? It's not a one solution fitting every problem in life. Sometimes you have to run away to not escape, but to actually prepare yourself to be able to face it better. And sometimes if you have the strength and the perseverance and the power and you have the resources to stay still, that's when you should. Now, how do you decide that? By failing, faltering, learning and growing. There is no other way to go through it. All right? And this is exactly what happens with failure. Whenever we think of failure, we start to run away from it. Instead of facing it and learning it and growing from it, we actually start running away from it. So there is no growing, there's no facing it for sure, there's no going through it, because the storm will come through. And now here's what's happening. The status quo of the storm versus you, the storm is already higher up. But if you stand up and face the storm, it would be a nice battle. It'll be a glorious battle to look at. So when it comes to situations like this, there was a saying that I once read somewhere, and I'm just going to say it out. I don't know where it came from, but because I remember it. It said, you've got to go through it to grow through it. Right? So I don't know who said this, but if you know who said this, please let me know in the comments. But this is one way to go through it. Oh, and also, if you've been to New York, and for everybody in our audience, whoever's been to New York, there's this bull statue that people, stand against. And they pose and they click pictures. And it was also in a movie, Kalonao. There's a reason for why that bull is placed there. It was actually placed after the great stock exchange crash. And the bull was a symbol of perseverance. It's actually symbolic of standing through the storm, persevering through the storm, which often comes in stock market and equity and shares and the financial segment. So if you stand like a bull and if you don't run away like a cow, you're bound to be glorious eventually. Nice. I didn't know that. That's good to know. The next time I'm in New York, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell the bull that I know why you're here. You need that strength of a bull to be able to face the adversities in order to go through the adversities, because the only way that you can reach the light is when you cross the tunnel that you're in, right? You can't go back to where you began. So there's no growth in that. In fact, know when to take a few steps back and when to stand your ground and when to move forward. And that knowing will always come through multiple failures, and that's how you learn. That's how eventually you will have enough battle scars on you to know what's the right thing to do. Well, thank you for coming on this talk today, and we're hoping to see more of you. Pun intended. Thank you. I'm glad to be on your show, if I would say this. And how I like to end every video, and because whatever was said and done, we don't know how much would the people remember it, but then just for them to see the whole video once again if they want to, or just see parts of it, I often tell them to think about it.